How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames. So today I'm bringing you a video regarding my top 5 choices for entering the EU finals. Now I'm not actually entering because I'm going to judge it instead because I find that more interesting because I haven't played much given that due to not really having locals and also most events at the moment being online, and I don't enjoy playing on webcam. I prefer playing one-to-one in person, which I haven't been able to do recently. So I decided to go for judging as well because I've enjoyed judging, and also it increases my experience as it goes through with like rulings and things like that. But even though I'm not playing, I did want to just advise on what my 5 choices are and go through my list just in case anybody entering still is undecided or I didn't think of these decks. That could be quite fun and quite interesting because I don't know about the US, but I know in the EU there's quite a lot of variety in decks. Like sure, in the last card market regional, it was mainly the Icarus because that's best deck and it was going to get hit, so people went for it, started going for it to use. And these are the top 5 decks that I would decide from. Since I'm not going, I fortunately don't have the stress of having to pick between one and build the side deck and everything, because unfortunately our format is a really bad one in the fact it is best of 1 for day 1. That if you make it in top cut, then you play best of 3, so you need a side deck even though you don't know if you're going to make the top cut. But getting into it, let's get on to the 5 decks that I would take with me. So the first one is Gogeta Xeno. So it's probably not a surprise, given that I'm a big fan of Gogeta Xeno since it came out in set 12. Did wonder like how it worked properly, if it was any good. Then I was given the a list to test out, tried it, loved it, and I've been in love with it ever since. And it's only slowly got support and become stronger and stronger over time. Now, since I last played it, has had a few changes. Like there's a few things as well, and since it's best of 1, I was thinking about adding things for best of 1, like Coin Sky and stuff. But the issue with this deck is when you use the Elite's ability to like essentially mill from the deck, it doesn't get a drop; it goes to the warp. So while that's good for your main engine of the Gogeta stuff, it's not great for things like Coin Sky need to be dropped, and there's not that many helpful ways to grab it back from the drop either, to put like from the warp to the drop. So for the unison choice, like there always wants to be a unison for this because you can play it for free thanks to the Kai, and there is an interesting one with the Black Smoke Dragons unison, because while it can gain markers for free using that for main because it's routed to need the Mecha Cabera leader, it still could use its -1 to draw your card, warp something your opponent's drop, and shuffle your deck. This is really handy for allowing you to shuffle back this Kai, which allows you to play it for free because it goes to the bottom. Because when you use it, you can you play unison for free from your dropper, from your warp, if you don't have one on the board, by putting this from your warp back to the bottom of your deck, and then that Black Smoke Dragon allows you to draw a card and shuffle your deck, so this is no longer the bottom of the deck, so you can find it again. So it's really nice for shuffling, especially when you're using the super combo as well to put things to the bottom of the deck. It was a nice way to shuffle your deck as well, so you're not expecting certain cards to go on the bottom. But the only problem with that is there's no way it can possibly attack, and while it is handy to warp something from opponent's drop, is not going to be handy in most cases, and in most cases, like in this deck, you want to be aggressive. So the mirror is a lot helpful because of the fact that his +1, it's got a +1, not a -1, which is the downfall the Black Smoke Dragon. It uses the effect, it's marker skill, and it's gone. And because of the Kai, you can't play in every unison. I think I'll double check in a sec. But this at least has a +1 and has a possibility of attacking as well after at least 2 turns, or if you play 2 for it and then use plus marker skill. And its +1 actually helps you out by it still draws as well, just like the Black Smoke Dragon, but it also helps set up your Gogeta chain because it allows you to warp. You got a warp card from your hand before you draw a card. So if you've got a Goku or Vegeta in your hand that you want in your warp, so you can use your Gogeta for the turn, like play Gogeta for the turn, then this allows you to help it a lot easier. Sometimes you have stuff in hand, and sometimes you don't want to combo because that loses advantage. And it's got standard chain of the 4 of the Gogeta Filler Fusion. This is great for removal. because it can go through barrier for a 4-drop or less. That's very handy, and it's just a nice blocker or attacker at 16k. You got the Gogeta here, which is a nice, useful one, but and this is a card that makes it nice for if you go second, because you can play this a turn earlier, because you need at least for your opponent to have 2 or more energy. So go on second. If you're on second, you can play this turn 2. If you go on first, though, you have to wait until turn 3, because you wait till your opponent have the second turn. And it's got the very strong card that's a staple and the most splashable engine in the game at the moment, which is the Fortnite Arc Empire, which is your removal and your double strike pressure, which is quite handy. And also a fantastic attribute as the leader as well. And the nice thing about this deck is this leader has Soft Awakening built in, which is something you want, because if you're going against Self Surge, they don't have to attack you to do what they want. They can just keep doing what they want, not interact with you, take your hand down, and if you can't awaken, you're going to be screwed. But thankfully, this deck has some nice draw power in the fact that every time you play one of these Gogeta cards, or if you play a Gogeta card with Union Fusion, you get to draw a card. And that's on both sides. On your Awaken turn, you get to draw 3 cards off this, because 1 from the front side, 1 for Awakening, and 1 from the other side for doing it. And then, 4, because then you attack with it as well. And yeah, it's just really handy. Just nice removal and everything in that kind of sense. And then I'm playing 1 of the 8-drop, because this could be a fantastic helper for endgame, because if you get to turn 4, this provides you 3 single strike attacks, but all at 35k, and also has some nice removal Fruit Barrier, which the deck kind of needs because it doesn't really have. And if you can't kill him, it at least becomes a blocker. But like ripping 2 cards at your opponent's hand and ripping 2 from the board for 4 energy is really, really nice. And it goes in theme of the deck because you're already doing what the requirements for the activate main are. And then to make sure we've got enough cards for the Gogeta chain, we've got for the Goku True Fighting Spirit, which is great. It's just helpful when you helps whittle your opponent's stand down if they're using counterattacks. The more you get on board, it means the more cards they have to lose from hand if they're using a gate. So it means if you're going against a blue deck and they've got 4 on board and the Baby Hatch, they're losing 6 from hand, being the play the Baby Hatch, discard for Baby Hatch, and then 1 for each ease. And out with a little bit of pressure if you need be, and because we're using the 6-drop that brings out 1-drops, is we're playing Son Goku Catastrophic Premonition. Just handy. This is more useful than the Vegeta version of the card, because this gains 10k opponent has from the deck to hand using a non-leader card skill, which a lot of decks draw from like cantrips and other effects. So this can easily, and it triggers on both. If it triggers on both players' turn as well. So on your turn, you can, if they draw, you gain 10k, and on their turn, if they draw outside the leader, you get 10k, and then on your turn, it's a 25k base double strike without you doing anything, which is handy. Then we got the obvious Vegeta, for the Vegeta stuff, the SS Vegeta super combo, best super combo. One of the type of super combos that are the best in the game at the moment from set 11. And then the Vegeta True Fighting Spirit, because as you know from watching my channel, I hate blue, and this is really handy against blue. And also, I'm still trying to use Aegis stuff as well, or a Bean as well, because Bean's quite a good card to have in best of 1 if you're playing any sort of blue, because it's helped with the best of 1 having a main board side deck stuff to help go through. This comes really handy and just gives you a bit more self-awakening, so also you can awaken early if need be. And then we have 2 more of each, being some of our own choices. So we have 2 SS4 Son Goku Beyond All Limits. I went for 2-2 of the Goku and Vegeta instead of 1-1, because the fact that this Goku can loop itself by using it to grab back and never copy and just keep that, so you've always got Overrealm. As well as also be able to grab almost anything in a deck outside the secret rare and the 8-drop Gogeta. And then went for Vegeta because I wanted to keep the balance, because for the fusions you need, for Union Fusion you need to have the same power, so you can't use a 30k with a 5 cost Goku Xeno. You have to have the same power, and this is what I prefer over the ever SS4 Vegeta 30k Overrealm is that this is free to play, doesn't require energy unlike the other one, and also has a bit of hand control in it, which is always nice. Then the other overall choice is the obvious Trunks Time Regulator, just to help you do the same as Mirror, warp a Vegeta or Goku that you need in your hand to your warp, so you can for the Gogeta stuff, and also allows you to draw 2 cards, which is quite handy. And it's been a 15k swing, and only requiring 3, which is very handy because each of these, when they unifuse, they can put 2 back from your warp to your drop. Then you just have to combo a card or lose a card from hand. Easily just combo off a card, and then you got 3. There you go. And to give you some extra pressure / defense, you have the 3 copies of SS Tag Team. It's just handy because you can easily trigger this with Overwhelm in turn to be defensive, or even with the Marvelous Might, where it puts it off to the bottom to do the whole playing out 2 1-drops from your drop or warp. And that then allows you to play this. You can give you, just by doing that, you get 3 attackers on the board at 15k at least, because the leader can make him 10k. And yeah, this is a nice card because it can be used defensively if you need be, by just playing itself if your opponent removes one of your battle cards by a skill to give yourself another blocker down to defend, or just by if you lose something by an effect in your turn, you can play this to get a free 15k swing, which is nice. And then easily, the Kai being a secret rare of choice because it's a body that can attack, and also very helpful for aggro if they don't swing with the leader first, swing with a battle card. Then you can stop. You can drop this if you have 1 energy, and it's their turn free, at least, to stop their attack of their unison and leader card. There's not often they're going to attack with the leader, but if just in case they do, you can punch with that and then give yourself away to board wipe. And since it's best of 1, I have put in main deck stuff to help with the best of 1 format, which is 2 Super Kamehameha. This is really handy because it can be played for free easily, because the fact that your leader can help self-awaken really quickly, because you've got self-awakeners in the deck and the leader self-awakens itself. You can easily have this to help with things like Topo and other floodgate negates that can put a restriction on you for when you try to attack anymore this turn. And since you can go to 4 easily, and you only be charging black energy anyway, because the cards in the deck are only black, you can easily have this for free by taking a life, which is not too bad. And then the staple for any black deck going into any event, at least sideboarded, but I feel like main decked in best of 1, is Petrification. It's one of the few cards that can stop autos from triggering. So like normally when you attack with a card, if it's got auto that triggers when you attack, it goes into pending, and then if you counter with this and fulfill the full effect, you can stop it from resolving, which is very handy. And it just gives you an extra negate if need be as well against certain decks, but it's mainly in here to help things against like if you're against ever 8-drop SS3 Gogetas or other big things, big battle cards that are issues. It goes for barriers. It stops the effects from going off when if they got effects to go off when they attack. But that's the Gogeta deck. That's the first deck choice. I haven't got a side deck for this because I was working on side decks, but then I wasn't going to go in the finals, so I didn't make any side decks. But I will update them with side decks before the weekend. So if you are probably by tomorrow. So if you are looking to try them out or playing for your local for the finals, then they will be updated if you just check back tomorrow. The next card, that's another one of my favorites, is King Cold. Now, given the new rules updates, King Cold's got a bit of an advantage in one of them being the one rules decider, where if it comes down to a draw, but you can't draw because there's like a certain round, like in Top Cut, it normally goes to whoever's won the most games in the match wins. But if both players have both got like a game win each from the match, it then goes to certain other factors. And one of those factors is having more, like it goes down to life, and I think then it goes down to cards on in your battle area. And just in the thing, it just states cards and not battle cards or anything like that. So King Cold already has an edge because it starts off with a field card, and you play multiple field cards towards battle cards, so that gives you an edge in there. But that's not the main reason I would choose it. It's because King Cold is a very strong green deck with a very good strategy that can be flexible between being aggressive, being control-y, being conservative, whatever you need to be. The deck just functions between both. And it can keep quite a lot of decent amount of advantage as well. It has self-awakening, so it's helpful against self-surge, where it can draw quite a few cards and at least awaken by turn 2, and just keep on drawing in the advantage. So it's not too bad option against hand control. And yeah, we're having the self-awakening means it doesn't get stalled by certain decks. And it's got some nice finishers you've got the secret choice of the Kai, of the Bukai, because that, like taking your opponent's unison, even if you can't use the full effects of its +1, is just handy. just to take it, and also nice floodgate, stop battle card attacks for the turn just by triggering for 2 energy. And also then it has nice removal in the form of like before Hatchak, not Hatchak, Bojack was banned. Any deck needed decent removal through barrier for things, and Golden Frieza does that quite nicely. And you don't really pay energy for much apart from your field cards. So you can play things for free. Like apart from the Golden Frieza, you pay 3 energy maximum for, and Secret for 2 energy, and Zamasu for 1. Most of the things you only pay for 1 energy. And we went for Secret Identity over any other overrun because you don't really need to worry about aggression in fighting against Fates, because unless you're trying to aggro them really early, fighting against Fates isn't that useful, I find. And what's a lot more useful is board control, and Secret Identity covers that perfectly. And yeah, having 3 negates in Royal Supremacy and Homicide Clones is very handy, and then a very strong counterplay in Frieza as well. And yeah, just Cooler being a very handy counterplay that stops something from coming down as 4 or less, and also giving yourself 15k attacker, which could be 20k with Terrified Realization, is quite nice as well. And the Frieza Revived and Reviled, that's just nice for being to have a 25k door attacker that can also be a double blocker if need be as well. It has a lot of consistency and just all round good choice in my opinion. And then for the side deck, it's the one deck I do have a side deck for because I was playing it mainly before signing for one of the finals. And the side deck for this would be 3 SS Bardock Paternal Uson. This is for combo based decks that have effects that they want to trigger while comboing, like Nimbus Master, things like that. And before we had the if you go against the Bojack, Blue Bojack as well, stopping things from triggering from comboing if they have to stay in there, or like helping control a rival as well. And then we have SS4 Magic Exterminator. Like I know there's the Deborah, but I didn't really want to pay energy to play Deborah. I'd rather have this, which I can play for free and still drop. And then if I'm also siding in the Bardock, it becomes a free use of Bardock's +1 to make him discard a card at hand. So that's quite handy. And then we have for hand control, free Rubrium, just to help take apart their hand while just discarding it off new rule and things like that. And then Rosie for helpful hand control and also aggressive use and control as well, because this giving triple attack. It's very handy if you're trying to kill your opponent or if you're trying to control a unison as well. Then Koitsukai for being a very strong card that you can easily put in drop thanks to new ruler. And then Focus Breakthrough as a nice card to stop floodgate negates. And that is it for King Cold. So the third one we have is Hatchak. So Hatchak is one that I feel is useful for the EU one because set 15 is not legal, so that means the deck isn't hard countered by any blue deck that decided to play the new hit unison, because that its ultimate marker skill just basically shuts down Hatchak for 3 turns, so it can't really do anything. And also it's a very strong deck that has a lot of control options, has its own nice little floodgate effect built in, and has a lot of the good black card, and like it can just have any option it wants at any point, and has a lot of control and a lot of options, so nice to go away to survive. So it's finally got a good unison in SS4 Bardock to give you an extra draw per turn. Also a nice little floodgate effect with the -2, meaning if they want out battle cards, which even though it's limited, is if they've got things like the 8 cost Gogeta, at least puts a cost on all 3 of its attacks. But just getting that +1 draw is very handy. And then I went with the Toki little package because giving yourself a 1-drop blocker that can draw your card as well, maintaining the draw and shuffling your deck as well. It's quite handy, and also allows you to get access to Noble Supremacy, which is a nice card to help with going against aggro Sin or the Sin in general. And also if you're going against a mirror match or another deck playing the 8-drop SS4 Gogeta, if you're going second and they're going to try to drop it on you turn 4 while you're still on free energy, you can drop this, and it means that if they drop it, they can't attack with it until it gets to your turn 4, and you can drop it and count and do your swing with yours. And then we got the Gogeta chain to be able to drop your 8-drop, being the 1-drop Goku negate, SS4 Vegeta being the guest super combo, and then 2 of the ISR Goku, because it can be dropped quite easily and give you a bit of a easy use to keep overwhelming if you need be. And the main deck things that help with certain matchups, because it's best of one, and you can't side deck unless you get to the top cut. We have 2 Jirons just against go against blue, which is probably the hardest matchup for the deck, and to help deal with Turn the Tide. Then 2 Debora to help against hand control, because you can recycle this as well because it's a free cost with your Slug, with your Ghost Warrior, so you can get this, use it to help against hand destruction, and then just recycle it, put it back in your deck so you can try and draw it again. We got the easy negates, Kai being happy, being helpful. The Boo to help for a bit more draw power as well, and get your stuff sorted out in your drop, like getting your cards in your drop area for the 8 drop. Tag Team being helpful defense, Lord Slug being helpful control and removal. Demogra being more hand destruction for the deck as well. Like this deck has quite a nice like hand control route, and the good thing about it is all the hand control stuff warps. So anything like if your opponent's using Deboras and things that trigger when they're discarded won't trigger, because all the cards in your discard in this deck to help you hand control warp, not drop. And you got the nice Floodgate in Oceanus. And for the overall, I decided to go for 1 SS3 Vegeta Unstoppable Evolution, because as I said, every deck needs at least some way to get through barrier removal. Because if you remember that, but even though Bojack's gone, Yellow still has very strong cards in the Yellow Slug, be to stop you from drawing outside of your leader, which in this deck is a problem, because a lot of your cards like your unit staff draw outside your leader, and you got other things like the the Absolute Annihilation, which can stop you from using Power Burst if you tapped out. So this is a nice handy way, and also counting as a Vegeta as well for the 8 drop is very handy. And another thing we have is the Bardock Fully Unleashed. So if a deck goes wide with big, high costing cards, like your opponent has their own SS4 Gogeta, you don't have a Demogra or your own SS4 Vegeta to get rid of it, you got a free way to get rid of it using Bardock as well. And this gets rid of it even if it's in rest, which I think is only your opponent their turn. It can't be KO'd, but this allows you to remove it, remove all your opponent's 6 drop or more cards, which is handy against Sin as well. Get rid of their 9 drops and stuff. And then we've also got 1 Mass Saiyan as well to help against if your opponent tries to go in with a triple striker, you can stop them. Then our little finishes for the deck is Black Mass King, which is your triple striker. That can also put a bit of burn on your opponent with its counter, because you can easily get with this deck if you're playing it properly, to put quite a few cards in the warp. Then you have your Gogeta, which your other game ender that goes with this. You can swing the Mass Saiyan first, then the SS4 Gogeta, so you can get around your own Floodgate. Kai's obviously secret rare. Fu is as a second kind of secret rare, a pseudo secret rare, because it's a strong effect and one of the best overwhelms in the game. And then I've went for a 2-2 split of Power Burst and Petrification, because I said Petrification is a card that needs to be in all black decks. This is best of one. I wanted the main 2 instead of side it, because you need it for certain things. And Power Burst, like with this, you always trying to keep an energy open for Petrification, and always trying to leave Power Burst as a sparking negate. Now that's it for Hat Check. Next we have a 4th one, being Golden Frieza. Now this is a deck that I've liked since the game's release. Like when it first started, I was trying to play a blue-yellow one, and it's just got slow support over time. It went kind of to a yellow-green deck and a green deck as we got some of the green Frieza's Army stuff. But now you can play it quite comfortably as a mono-yellow deck, which has some quite good control, and it's probably, I would say, like a very good choice for a yellow deck in the upcoming format. So for the make sure the effect goes off, that we got the 1 drops that allow you to use the effect of your lead to draw a card and untap energy. We've got the new 1 drop Ginyu, which is just cantrip. Like these two, the first 2 are just Ginyu and Togamo, which is just a cantrip where you just play it, draw a card, then sack off your leader, draw another card and untap energy. You paid for it, so you basically did nothing to draw quite a few cards in deck fin. And then we got Sword Bear, which allows you to look for your little cantrips to allow you more. Yeah, it allows you to look for more of your Frieza Army cards, and that's it. It doesn't look for Unison, because the Unison we got in the deck doesn't meet the requirements for this. And the other one we've got that we're normally going to use is Tagoma, and this one is a very handy one that's nice for any situation, but it's a really handy one for when you go with your kind of finisher, more control deck, control card in Frieza Divine Transformation, because what the Togama does is ignore the auto. We're never going to trigger that because we're not a Shenron leader. It is permanent where if you have a Frieza or Sorbet card in your battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. The handy thing about that is you have, if you play this Frieza down to trigger its auto and have it as block, and like not want to get rid of it because you don't want to get rid of this, you want to keep it on board because it can't be removed by skills, only if the opponent runs over it, and it's a double striker, a blocker, and it's a very strong autos. So when you get to turn 5, you're going to have to tap out for this to play it because it can't be stopped from being played and has very strong effects. So you want to get your energy open, and a good way to do that on turn 5 after you play this is free play the Tagoma, sack that off for leader, untap 2, draw 1, because you'll be awakened by then, hopefully, on turn 5. So we're playing 2 of this because it's really handy. You want to save it for that because more you got these 1-drops to do in the early turns up until turn 5 to get those draws as well. And you got the Mech Frieza being a really easy negate. You've got quite a lot of extra cards in here that you can charge or drop, and you only overwhelm in this deck if you really need to. And help your Self-Awakening because you have much in terms of Self-Awakening, and you need Self-Awakening in all decks, as I keep saying, because of Self-Surge being non-interactable and a hand control deck. We've got Master Roshi, Martial Arts Master. It's the easiest Self-Awakening cards that don't have to attack because you just play it. When you play them, you just choose a card from your life out to your hand, and you do Activate Main, where you just pay 1 to choose a card in your life out to your hand, and then fail to do the rest of the effect, which is look for a Moon Destroying Kamehameha. You can actually add one to your deck if you wanted to give you something to search from that, but because you can always then add it to your hand after using the effect to get something off the effect as well, to get a plus extra card from that, and then use it to charge, so it makes when it's in your energy, it makes Robotic Repose a bit cheaper, but it's going to be dead if you do play it, and it's more that you don't have to have one in the deck. You can fail the search because it chooses up to 1 as long as you just want to pay the cost by paying 1 and taking a life. And then as I said, yellow has a lot of good cards that are just very great in the format. In Lord Slug, stop your opponent from having any draws outside the leader, and Son Goku, Absolute Annihilation, against any decks that have extra cards like King Cold and stuff, to stop them from being able to do what they want without paying energy, like put a cost on them, tax them. Then we got one for Bergamo because every yellow deck should be running it because it's very easy to play that with the power of Super Saiyan, and it's that one for a reason. 2 Basil for like more cantrips that give you a bit of oomph, like a bit of pressure because of its Activate Main. Then we got Retaliation Cooler for a counter play after you've used, like if you want to put in some pressure and you've got the energy, you can use this. Krillin Super Combo, nothing to really talk about there. And then we got the Super 17 Sibling Absorb. Now, Cold Bloodlust is limited for a reason because it's so powerful, and this is basically Cold Bloodlust, but it's also got a bit of removal as well, and critical 40k body for 1 energy. It's fantastic. So this is the secret rare choice, I feel, for this deck, because it's going to be a 1-drop on your opponent's turn when you're going to use it, and be able to Cold Bloodlust something that's being played as long as it doesn't deflect, and then remove something from your opponent's board through barrier as long as it's in rest mode is really nice. If your opponent's got a Lord Slug in rest mode, that's getting removed. And then for the overall choice, we got the Secret Identity for board removal, and Bardock for extra board removal against certain things, because it's very handy to get rid of things, like I said, like with Syndex, and yeah, any deck that spams 6 drops like Gogeta Xeno and things like that. This is very handy over round 4, and over round 5 means it's a bit early. You can drop it a little bit easier, play 1 less than Secret Identity. Then use some choice is Mecha Gabura, because turn 4 that's a decent play, because it's getting you that +1 draw, locking something down your opponent can attack with, so they can't attack with it, and has a nice control where it can just block and then tap down something if it loses a marker by battle. Yep, and without Zamasu hitting unisons now, this is actually a feasible choice, whereas before it's like a no-no. You wouldn't play anything, like wait until 5 to play that, you have to just play Frieza. And then for the extra cards, Cold Bloodless given, then we have 2 Vegeta's Final Flash, because this is one of the best signature attack rares, and 3 Power Super Saiyan, because just being this for free, replace itself for free, triggering Bergamo easily, and also being in the gate if need be is quite handy. And Frieza's Call to maintain you're having essentially 8 copies of any of these 1-drops to trigger the leader's effect. Means consistency, means by turn 1 you should have a way to drop one of these to keep up your draw power and go through and fin your deck as well. And that's 4 on the decks. And now for the last one is one that I was a bit iffy on, but after giving a loss by a shout out to James from the chat, James Murr. The last one is Prison Frieza, because this is one that I've loved ever since it came out. I remember winning a store champs with it, because just locking your opponent down, just having that whole thing of being able to put your opponent in a situation where they can't play anything unless they kill themselves, and restricting your opponent and then slow rolling them was quite fun. And then over time, we've got more and more cards that basically easily remove things from the board unless they have because the 8-drop Frieza that locked things down doesn't have barrier. It meant that the more removal we got, that was quite cheap and easy. Made it so the prison version of this wasn't handy. So I still got Prison Frieza, even though it's just set 6 Frieza, but it's just handy, and it's just unique in the way that you've got to build a deck, and it's very extra deck heavy. Like, I like decks that have a little niche, like King Cole with its fill cards, and this with its full-on extra cards. So with this, we've got, for the unisons, we've got the Frost for the Clan, because that's easy turn 2, so getting your advantage, and with the deck, with how many extra cards are in it, you're rarely going to whiff off this in leader, and keep gaining, once you drop this, it's like drawing 1, but it's actually got a blocker to help protect your leader as well, and a -2, that's quite handy. And then we got King Piccolo as one of the options for the deck of like win conditions, where you want to try and get to the late game to try and burn your opponent for energy, because you want to get to later turns, so you can use this -4 to pay 4 energy and whatever excess energy you've got to burn for that excess energy. The secret rare for choice, because there's not many red secret rares that are quite generic and quite strong for any red deck. Like blue has got Baby Hatch, the best blue deck, secret rare that only blue can play, and every blue deck's going to play unless otherwise stated by like them being restricted by it, or something more generic for the archetype, or more useful than archetype's going to come about. But this is really handy because it's a board when you play it. You can play it for 4 energy, just 4 energy, turn 4, and it's a board wipe in a sense where when it comes down, you minus 25k all your opponent's battle cards through barrier, and every time your opponent attacks with a battle card, you can minus something by 25k and gain a marker. And it is a good finisher as well, with its -4 being able to give you a 40k dual attack and triple striker as well. And it's a blocker as well, so you can attack. It's got dual attack and blocker. I mean, you can attack with it and then have it there for blocking. So it's a really handy secret rare. And then finally, the reason why I want to play this deck is because it's finally got a super combo in King Cold, Blessing of the Clan, which I think it's Blessing of the Clan. Let me just double check. Yeah, Blessing of the Clan. It's really handy. Like his auto doesn't really trigger until you're at 3 energy, but it's really handy to help survive attacks and give you a cheaper use of an extra card, because when you use it during your turn or during your opponent's turn as a super combo and you've got 3 or less life, you can play next time you play an extra card that's 3 or less, you can reduce the cost of it by 1 red, essentially making any of your 1 drops free, any of your 2 drops 1, and your 3 drop is irrelevant because you can't play it in your opponent's turn, and the one time you can use it to your opponent's turn, it's free anyway. So this is really handy, being able to combo this and then use Frieza Death Ball for free, really good. Or even just to combo a sync and then have your Violent Raise for free to play if you're tapped out. Or just use this and then Paralysis Technique, negate next attack and minus stuff. Like, it's got quite a good use of things. And for the rest of the battle cards, we have 2 Topoed, because just Greater Floodgate and red. I'm moving on for 2 because you've got a lot of things in your extra card being able to play for free and just killing things through game mechanic by reducing the power that You don't really need this to later game. There's not much aggro, and aggro there is. You can just survive against it with your extra cards stuff. And for the Ever Battle cards, I went for the Gogeta chain, which is 3 Vegeta at the full power, 3 of the Goku, 3 Gogeta 5, and 3 Gogeta 6. Because the aim of this deck is to turn 1, do your search. Like else, you can leave your energy open so you can actually use one of your cards as need be, your extra cards. Then turn 2, tap out for Frost, get that plus off your leader, plus off the Frost. And then turn 2, drop the 5-drop using its Union Fusion, and drop the 6-drop on top of it, which then gives your units an extra 3 markers. So you've got a Frost for the clan, which has, at least if they haven't attacked it, by then 7 markers on. Well, at least 6 markers without using its marker skills. And you've got a battle card on board that can minus 20k when it swings, and minus 20k something when your opponent swings during their turn, which is really handy. And you've also replaced the 2 cards used for Union Fusion off the 5-drop with the Union Fusion skill. And the 5-drop Goku and Vegeta will actually become useful later on, because you can play it hard casting, especially with the Vegeta. If you get your opponent down to 1 life, you can play the Vegeta, and if they remove the Vegeta in any way, they're dying. And having the Vegeta on board is also with the Unison, means that if your opponent wants to attack with anything, they're losing a lot of power stuff, and with the defense you've got, it's going to be hard for them to try and attack or kill you with anything. And yeah, just both those 5-drops allow you to give you extra ways to finish your opponent off, but for a burn, and the 6-drop being just a very strong card defensively and offensively. And a great way to protect the chain, because it doesn't have barrier, so it can be easily removed. We have 2 of the strategies unit 7, and the good thing about this is just free cost. Just give your red Sims on board barrier, and the Frost for the clan can use minus 2 to grab it back. And the great thing about this is that when you drop your Gogetas on the when you drop them on your board, when you do that, you give your units a mark, like 1 marker for the 5-drop and 2 markers for the 6-drop. Meaning you can rack up those markers. You can use its minus 2 to keep recycling back the strategy unit 7, which is very great, because it's just grabbing that back to keep giving your Gogeta barrier and make it harder to get rid of it, and give it more protection every turn, like turn after turn. It's very handy. Then for the extra cards, we got Difference of Status, just a helpful way to give yourself removal, and also if your Frost Clan is going to die, you can use that anyway to just get rid of it. And it means that if you're going to play one of your unisons the turn before, and the unison is going to die, you feel the unison is going to die anyway, or Frost is already blocked to help yourself save yourself, you can use Different Status. Then we got Cab's Awakening. There's a free 6k combo for free. It's actually both your leader and your unison. Just handed out. It's almost like a pseudo super combo, where sometimes if the opponent combo is 5k, you need 10k to out combo. So this one card is like running 8 super combos in a sense. And Frieza's Death Ball, because it's a very strong card, puts away 5k difference between one of your battle card or leader cards and your opponent's cards. It's very handy. Wolfang Fist is minus 15k through barrier, is very handy. Final Raise, we only play 1, because it's like with Topo, there's not many things, and it's not until late game that you're going to have to worry about this. And yes, we're only going for 1, because as I said, you can recycle it with Frost if you need be. Then we got Priority Technique, which is very handy to negate. It's just nice that it negates the attack, then minus 5k everything, keeping the opponent's leader on board. Then we have Final Guardian as negate from the drop. And then for the ones that are higher than 1 cost, we have Omen Awakening, where the deck focuses on keeping a unit on board. This is quite handy to be help you self-awaken if you're going against a deck that tries to stop you from self-awakening. So if you're going Self-Surge and they try to play things that are battle cards, you can use this to stop it and then help yourself awaken. Because you need to choose a card in your life and place it in the drop area. This stops something from 20k power or less. It was nice that it's just 20k power and not just a cost. And it's reduced to 1 if you have unison on board. So that's a helpful self-awakening. You can easily recycle that as well. Then we got Testing Opposition, help you have a negate. That also negates 1 attack, then gives you a blocker to help defend against another attack. And then we have Cease to Exist, which is this deck's more costly than other decks. This deck's barrier removal that can hit at least 2 things. If your opponent puts down the Slug and the Absolute Annihilation. You can hit both of those with one card, which is handy. At the very least, if you don't want to use it you can use it for free as a 5k combo, thanks to its Activate Battle skill. Now that is it for my 5 choices for the finals. These are the 5 decks that we take. Let me know down in the comments which one you think would be more fun or be a better pick. Like personally, like my favorite one for fun would be Frieza Prison, but my more competitive one, in my opinion, would be King Cold. Now, thank you for watching. Feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, as I said. And lastly, feel free to subscribe because it keeps you updated with videos as when I drop them. And you can help me get to 1,000 subs, which we are a quarter way there. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.